Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another DTF Superstore live stream. My special guest is Kevin. Kevin is one of our install techs. He is also a longtime garment decorator. So if you've got questions, he's got some answers for you. So he's got a lot more experience than me when it comes to like actually doing garment decoration. Obviously, my expertise is just DTF. But yeah, so do me a favor as we're waiting for people to trickle into the live stream. Let us know in the chat where you're watching from, because it's a lot of fun to see where everybody's at. We often have folks from all over the place. So do me a favor. Also let me know in the chat if you're going to be at Impressions this week in Long Beach. If you are, let me know and let's meet up. I'm going to be there Thursday and Friday. I am teaching a class. There's the info on it on Thursday. So that's the location down at the bottom of the screen where I'm teaching. Carlos, what's happening in Fort Worth, Texas? How cold is it there? Because I saw some friends in other parts of Texas that have snow, and that's a little crazy. Frank in South Africa, awesome. Thanks for watching. I think it's probably like evening time, 6 o'clock there, somewhere in that ballpark, if I remember correctly. Like 20 degrees or 20 inches of snow. I'm just kidding. I know there's not 20 inches of snow, not in Texas. And if you haven't noticed from his hat already, Kevin's riding high right now because the Ohio State Buckeyes did win the championship last night. So Luxembourg.
Wow.
That is the first. That's a first for Luxembourg.
That's
I don't think I've ever had anybody on the live stream from Luxembourg. So that's awesome. So anyway, so we've got Kevin here today. And so I figured I'd take the opportunity to let him share some thoughts, let you guys ask some questions, because you guys can ask him some questions that I wouldn't normally be able to answer. We got Poland in the house. It's fantastic. I wish we could snow like that. Carlos, have you ever had to shovel snow before? Because I'm pretty sure that would not be a fun amount of snow. Kevin, is 20 inches of snow any fun to deal with?
No, absolutely not. No.
All right. Oh, Josiah's watching. Josiah's head of our tech support. Fantastic guy. Thanks for watching, Josiah. So I think the biggest question and that we get that is kind of an enigma for a lot of little bit larger companies is working with a big brand. Like a lot of us, a lot of the DTF producers, smaller time, are just printing mom and pop kind of stuff. But you've had some experience working with big brands. From a DTF standpoint, you do a lot of embroidery. Let's back it up. What garment decorating have you done?
And what I've done is embroidery, screen printing, and of course DTF. Never really got too much into DTG, but definitely embroidery and screen printing and a lot of DTF.
So with embroidery, like that's pretty straightforward. You get the right thread color and you move on with your life.
Yeah, exactly. There's a little more to it than that, but yeah, it's basically that. So.
I'm oversimplifying a fairly complex process.
Exactly.
Yeah, what else is new? So from the standpoint of DTF, you've had to do some color matching for a big brand.
Yes,
How did you go about getting those colors to be right?
I mean, it just took some time to, build your little blocks. And of course you just get a Pantone book. And of course I would just put the numbers beside it and then just print them out and which one came out the best.
So you just, did you like pick and choose different colors in Photoshop or whatever?
Yeah, in Photoshop, and just, create a bunch of boxes, and then whichever one pressed the best is the one that I use.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I use a lot of RGB, and I just use those codes. So
cool. So that's all a thing that I would love to find a way to automate, but everybody that does it gives a similar answer to what Kevin just did. Is where you really have to just put a bunch of options down to see what prints, because although ICC profiles do a really good job of getting good gradation and stuff like that, when it comes to dialing in an exact color, it's not a perfect science because there's so many variables involved.
Absolutely. Yeah, your reds, your blues, stuff like that are really hard to match. You've got to go in and create some different ones for those.
Now, what printer are you using?
I'm using the Mimaki TXF 150.
And are you using Rasterlink or Digital Factory?
I'm using both.
Okay.
I do use Digital Factory a lot, though.
Okay. Did you find it easier to match in one or the other?
CAD-Link really.
Okay.
I mean, I've
Yeah.
got my profiles down pretty good with that, so
Yeah,
it matches really
yeah.
good.
Now, do you do a lot of different brand colors, or do you just basically have one you're working with?
One really is all I work with. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other ones, I mean, I do a lot of others, but I just let that one go.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Because there's obviously a balance of the time involved
Sure.
versus your
Absolutely.
output, right?
It took a long time to actually match up the colors that need to be for the one brand that I do a lot of.
Yeah. So a lot of, and that's the thing that I try to talk to the audience about often is like balance the costs versus
Sure.
versus
Yeah,
output.
absolutely.
Because if you have a brand color that's like, we need this, but it's only one order of
Yeah.
like 100
Mhm.
shirts, it's probably not going to be worth the time it's going to take for you to dial in that
Absolutely.
brand color.
Absolutely.
So I really wouldn't stress too much about a brand color, like getting it perfect, unless you're going to be doing regular work for that brand.
Sure.
So and then from there, just use the IC profile to get as close as you can on the rest of that stuff.
Yep.
And that's really like the difference between DTF with screen printing with those brand colors is, with screen printing, the ink manufacturers have figured out their calculation with their pigments they have. They give you those exact like numbers. But with digital printing, there's so many little weird filters that it goes through that it shifts it kind of off. And so that's why there's not like a real clean, like, if you do this, this will be your output.
Sure.
Because when you're printing, even if you know the correct percentage of cyan and magenta, each printer might do slightly different amounts at those percentages.
Absolutely.
And so it starts to throw it off. And that's why it has to be a little bit more of a trial and error process to get those colors dialed in. But those ICC profiles are important because they help with like some gradation and stuff like that. Like if you're going from one color to another, I've seen some bad ICC profiles and they're like, there's a hard line as it's gradiating. Yeah, exactly. So that's what the ICC profile does. It does a better job of getting you in the right ballpark. But those perfect color matches, you just have to do manually right now. Let's see. Question, Digital Factory 11, I can print with light garment setting. Sorry, my camera's blocking the comment. But I go to dark garments, it will not print. So what printer are you running, Doug? Because my guess is I know Digital Factory does different cues for each of those light, dark garments. I'm not a big fan of that. I actually get rid of that function whenever I build a profile out. Perfect. Yep. So TXF 150. So my guess is that your port is set wrong on that dark garment. So if you go to cues, manage cues, and then it'll give you all of them. Check and see what the port is for that dark garment versus the light garment. My guess is the port setting is off. That would be my
or
gut.
Even installed.
Yeah, so likely something got changed in the port setting. So just go into that manage cues and change the port setting to be the same as it is on the light garment. If that is not fixing it, reach out to tech support and they can help walk you through it and figure out what's going on there. But that would be my gut. So what is the craziest request you've had a customer give you for embroidery? Or something that was like, what in the world are you talking about?
I mean, sometimes like I'll get a crazy thing for like a golf bag that it's just impossible to get a hoop around. Because if you can't put a hoop on it, you can't get it into your embroidery machine.
Okay.
So that's some particular bags are more, tougher than others. So, but yeah, I've been asked some crazy things to embroider. So
sure,
yeah,
sure. What's the weirdest thing you've been asked to embroider? Not necessarily you couldn't do, but just like weird item, like lingerie. Has somebody done that?
Actually,
really?
Yeah. Well, there was a guy that actually he did a lot of stuff for I want to say like adult toys, and yeah, so he was, it was a lot of crazy stuff that he wanted me to do, and yeah, I just wasn't doing it.
What do you DTF on anything other than like just shirts and bags and stuff like
just a lot of backpacks, a lot of duffel bags, and mainly just garments.
Sure,
So, yeah.
sure. What's your favorite thing to do?
I mean, left chest and full front stuff, really.
Okay.
I mean, the easy stuff.
The
of
easy
course.
stuff.
the
Yeah,
easy
yeah,
stuff, of
yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah.
So,
What's the biggest thing you've embroidered? Like biggest, I guess your hoops limit your size.
I mean, jacket backs. I mean, I've done a 12 by 18 jacket back. My biggest hoop that I have. So I have done a big bass that, I mean, it literally took me almost 4 hours to embroider. I mean, it had, probably 80 color changes, and yeah, it was pretty intense.
Nice,
So,
nice.
yeah.
So Doug's got another question. So reach out to tech support, because if you don't have the most updated print modes, tech support can get those to you since you bought it from us. So I think everybody that does DTF likes to tinker.
Yeah.
I think we're all tinkerers to some degree.
Absolutely.
That's been, honestly, part of the nice thing about DTF is it has been a platform that allows for a lot of tinkering, but it's also what has allowed for a lot of confusion.
Sure.
I think, because tinkerers will be like, oh, well, I got this perfect thing to work in this little range and it works great for me, but it doesn't work for anybody else.
Exactly.
So I think that I've always said that bigger manufacturers getting into DTF will help stabilize it, so it's not exactly a tinkering technology anymore. And so Roland coming out with it now. We've got some bigger companies that are definitely jumping in to do DTF, and so that I think is going to shift a little bit away from the tinkerer vibe and get a little bit more standardization, which I think is a good thing. What, in your experience installing, what's the most common like hiccup for people in the process of DTF? Is it like the graphic? Is it the printing? Is it the curing? Which part of it is
the biggest thing that I see is people keeping their humidity and temperature to where it needs to be. Because if you don't have that range between that 40 and 60%, I mean, you're going to have problems. I mean, especially with print heads, clogging up and stuff like that. It's very, very important that you keep that humidity high. I mean, the higher it is, the better off your printer is going to last, or that without clogging.
Yeah.
So, but most of them, seem to get the software and everything down pretty good.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And it's interesting. I'm watching the transition or the shift into more like early on, it was all discussions about graphics, because the people that were doing DTF weren't like experienced garment decorators that knew about like doing color knockouts or separations.
And with your help, that's got, a lot of people are getting that.
Sure. Yeah. And it's really nice to see screen printers that are engaging in DTF now that do understand about color separation, knockouts, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's like we're at this really cool spot where the tech is getting a little more stabilized and we're getting more experienced garment decorators doing it. More so that kind of combination, I think, is why we're seeing DTF just really all over the place. I saw a comment on a post about impressions this week, and somebody joked in the comment about it being a DTF show or something like that. And it's like everybody wants to exhibit the newest technology that they have. Absolutely. That's what you do at those shows. So for a lot of companies, DTF is that newest technology that they have. So now, do you think that DTF will surpass or replace screen printing?
It'll never replace your larger screen shops, the ones that are doing 1,000 pieces on up. But for the smaller people that are doing from a dozen to 300 or 400, absolutely, it's going to take place of that. The days of pulling ink anymore with a squeegee, those days, unless you like doing that type of stuff. But there's a much easier way now. So with the
boutique type shop that wants to keep doing that. What about DTG? What do you think is going to happen? I mean, you obviously never adopted DTG.
Sure. But I mean, I be honest with you. I mean, I'm I really never liked doing DTG just because of the pre-treat. I hated the pre-treat and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I had to work with it because of the companies that I worked with. But yeah, that I don't see that becoming a big thing, except for the bigger companies again that are having these big IROC machines and stuff like that are doing thousands of shirts a day.
Sure.
So yeah. That's the only way that I see the DTG going.
Designed by Hands LLC, Murfreesboro.
Oh, yeah.
When were you there?
Yeah.
Carlos, yeah, I think that it still is going to have a place to a degree for a while.
Yeah.
But I think as the hand feel of DTF gets better from some other technologies getting involved and some other companies involving into the process, I think we will see it kind of push it out more and more. We're actually testing a new powder. It's really fun. We're working with a company directly for testing a new powder. And the first powder they sent us was so fine, it looked like powdered sugar. And it was insanely soft and stuck super well, but it didn't have a lot of bounce back from the stretch. So we've been going back and forth with them, increasing the grain size just a little bit. And the cool thing about this company I'm working with is the grain size is a lot more consistent. I don't know if any of you guys have never nerded out around your powder, but even the fine powder has usually bigger chunks in it, or bigger chunks. That's a relative term. It's like grain of sand, grain of sugar, mixed in with the other stuff. So this company's giving me a lot more consistent size, which means I think we're going to be able to find like the perfect size where it is super, super soft, but still has that stretch and bounce back. So pretty excited about working with that, because that's again another one of those steps that the tech can make to make a better end product. So I'm going to ask you the question that everybody always has different ideas about.
Okay.
What is your preferred second press material? What do you second press? Are you a sandpaper guy?
No,
or one of those weirdos?
no. I actually, I don't know if I use it's called a flexible application pad.
Is that the one that you can? We sell them from Stalls.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
where I got. Yeah,
yep.
I love. I mean, I even use it for the first and the second press, but I love the way that the way that feels.
Yeah.
The one big brand that I do, they love it.
Okay.
It just makes it feel so much better, and it just, it gives it texture, and it just makes it softer.
Cool.
So, but yeah, that's all I ever use. I've tried T-Seal. Matter of fact, I got some of your sandpaper and stuff and tried that. Actually, I got a skateboard grip.
Grip tape.
Yeah, grip tape for a skateboard. I was able to find it in a bigger sheet.
Nice.
And it was okay, but still not like what I'm.
And I think that's the thing. Is it is a preference thing.
Sure.
The second press material.
It is.
Because there are people that just love the sandpaper feel. It is. They're like, it is the best thing ever. And I'm like, it's okay. Like I could take or leave it.
Sure.
But yeah, so it definitely a personal preference thing.
The one I definitely do not like is using a Teflon sheet.
Okay.
That is just, that just makes it feel too.
Not to be contrarian, but Carlos Gonzalez likes to use textured Teflon.
Textured Teflon? Okay.
I had a similar experience with Teflon. Now some people, like, obviously every shop's a little different in the way your workflow is. When we tested Teflon, I felt like it didn't give it any softer of a feel or anything like that. Now, I will say, do me a favor, if you saw the advertisement for a liquid product that one of our competitors is selling that is supposed to magically make it feel softer, let me know in the comments if you saw that, because your boy bought some and he's going to test it and see what it does. I have no idea how in the world it's supposed to make it feel better, but that's a test print, Kevin. Kevin, don't be feeling that. Kevin's judging my print quality on one of my test sheets. 100%. But yeah, so I did buy some of that liquid magic product that we are going to test and see what it does, because I can't imagine it would actually do anything. Yeah, you're right, Carlos. It might be something else, but it could also be Teflon. There's so many different Teflons like that. When I was doing the test of all the second press materials, it was hard to figure out which Teflon I should use, or which, like, some people were like, you got to use canvas, you got to use craft paper. There's different craft papers. If you didn't know, I didn't know before I did that. But yeah, it's got a heavy texture on it. And I think that, so the people that like a screen print feel usually want some texture to it. They don't like the smoothness of it, which is why I think the sandpaper is a really good option for like that screen print feel. But at the end of the day, if your customers like it, just keep using it.
Which one do you like? I mean, I know you use the T-Seal and the other stuff as well. So.
I like the T-Seal. Honestly, the vast majority of my graphics, I purposefully make them really, really open.
Exactly.
So
and that's the key to it there as well.
Yeah. So I purposefully design my stuff, my personal stuff, to be pretty open. This is probably the least open shirt that I have. And I guarantee you this wasn't T-Seal, because I didn't have T-Seal for a while. So I probably just use parchment paper. Most of the time I use parchment paper because it's there. It's just easy to use, and it's in our office. So
I mean, I don't even mind using a blank T-shirt from time to time.
Yeah, in a pinch. But yeah, there's definitely stuff like I'm going to prefer usually T-Seal. But I haven't used one of those Stahl's finishing sheets yet.
I love that thing.
Maybe I'll have to try it, and maybe I'll become a believer like Kevin. So
I'm a believer.
Hey, so if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, we'll probably wrap it up here shortly. But yeah, so Kevin, how long have you been garment decorating?
About 40 years. But with the embroidery, screen printing, everything that I've done over the years. Started really screen printing when I was 13 years old, screen printing real estate signs.
Really?
And then into just different stuff. But yeah, sort of about 40 years. Cool.
And Kevin was particularly excited by the Roland announcement, by us working with Roland, because he's an OG Roland tech. So he was excited to see Roland come out. So he came out. The reason he's on today is because he came out to get familiar with that unit. So
and to give it a big hug.
So he's going to be the main one installing the Roland machines. So he's just getting real familiar with it. Let's see. We got another question here. Is Mimaki different feel than others? Because our customers always tell us that our shirts feel way different. Most of the people they tried, we have Mimaki. Different in a good way, I hope. Ink will play somewhat of a factor. I have worked with inks that felt horrible, but it's not as dramatic of a difference as doing a color knockout. That's a more dramatic softness. Reducing your white underbase, that's a more dramatic softness. Yes, in a good way. Awesome. Yeah. Initially, when we first started working with Mimakis, we noticed that it felt different than the traditional stuff we've been using. But as more companies that are really good at making stuff like the Mimaki ink, the Roland inks, the DuPont inks, all of those are coming out pretty similar softness. You're not getting a lot of like thickness, and also like the better quality the pigment in the white is, the less you have to use to protect the graphic from the shirt color. So it just is kind of this knock-on effect where you get softer and softer with similar color results. So Xtool has a DTF printer. I am not familiar with it. I will look into it. I'm also going to find out if they've got it at the show. If they have it at Impressions, I will go look into that.
I'll be walking around the show on Friday, so I'll be, if anybody's there that sees me, and just say hi. And
yeah, definitely come say hi. So, and maybe it's just in Europe, because I think this is Michelle. I think you're in Luxembourg, so it's possible it's a Europe thing. But I will look into that, because I always like to know who's making stuff. I know Xtool makes a lot of other good products, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they've got a DTF printer. And that's also, like, in the past, I like to look at the show and pre-sale. Cool. So I wonder if they'll have it at the show. I hope they have it at the show. That's one of the things I like doing at the show, seeing what new stuff is out there. That's actually part of what kicked off our relationship with Roland. Is at Last Impressions, they had their small desktop version. I went over to see it, and they were having some trouble with their dryer shaker that they had gotten from somebody else. And we connected over that, because I'm like, hey, we've got a partner in Arizona that's making a dryer shaker that's made in America. So that's kind of what started that conversation with them. So yeah, so I will definitely check that out, see if they've got it, and then I'll talk if they have it. I'll probably try to capture some stuff and share on the live stream in 2 weeks. Some of the stuff I saw in impressions. If there's anything monumental around groundbreaking, obviously, I haven't heard too many rumblings of anything like crazy different. Just more of kind of the same. Just people trying to develop better machines, more consistent machines. I'll be interested to see if Epson has their DTF printer running.
Absolutely.
Because they had it.
I'll definitely be going.
They had it at Print United.
Yeah.
They had it at Print United, but it was not running.
Yes. Yeah.
Nor did they have a price on it.
Yeah.
So anyway, awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys jumping on. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. If you're at Impressions, come find us. Track us down. We'll see. I'll be there Thursday and Friday. Kevin's going to be there on Friday. And hope you guys have a great rest of your week, your month. If you're Ohio State fans, congratulations.
Hey.
If you're Notre Dame fans, I'm
OH.
sorry. IO? Is that what it is? I don't know.
Yep. That's it.
I'm an Arizona boy. We don't win anything. We got close with ASU. Anyway, all right. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Thanks again for watching. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.